What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
That's the name of the channel. What do you mean with an exclamation point and a question mark?
All right, my fellow Australians, I'm going to make a prediction that, when you want to be wrong, but we are going to have a absolutely insane summer this time round. I'm going by the fact that our friends in the Northern Hemisphere are being absolutely smashed by heat and other forms of disasters, so our summer's probably going to be pretty bad too. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know this isn't the first time I've talked about the Bushfire Royal Commission, so let's go through a few things. The severity and duration of the 2019-2020 bushfire season places strain on the existing arrangements for sharing aerial firefighting capabilities between the states and territories. Predicted longer northern and southern hemisphere fire seasons also expose risk associated with Australia's reliance on overseas-based aircraft. I think it's safe to say we can probably no longer rent firefighting aircraft from California and stuff. I think they're gonna need it. We should probably have our own, it's just even a waste of resources traveling here, I would say. So over 3 years, they committed almost $45 million. But then when the bushfire season got real bad in 2019, they just had to chuck another 20 million at it. Alright, so fire seasons are overlapping. I don't think we should share across hemispheres anymore. Let's talk about sharing amongst the states and territories. So New South Wales and Victoria lent out a lot of aircraft. Makes sense. They got more people. They got more money. They will have more things. And this year, WA had to hire things from New South Wales. That just blows my mind, being South Australian, that you got it to fly over my whole state. Wait a second. We're going to go on a flashback. Ooh.
A large air tanker has also arrived from New South Wales to help from air.
Every state should already have their own. Oh, and what does this say? Distance can also be a factor in the availability of aircraft. WA has identified some difficulties in obtaining aircraft due to the distance. Oh! Alright, now it would be really fucking hard to be worse than our last Prime Minister on the matter, but I did go check to see what our new Prime Minister, what our Labour government has to say on the issue, and this is the most recent video I could find from the other day.
That is a question, quite frankly, that you're asking me to defy science. No politician who's serious can stand and say that they can guarantee that there will never be a natural disaster.
I don't know what robo-debt means.
That is an extraordinary admission.
Remember her? Yeah, I'm going to make a post talking about her and then probably rant about a few other things to do with Australia. So, this is from a little while ago, but Catherine Campbell quits her $900,000 top defence job after Robo-Debt Royal Commission. Alright, so this woman was the head of the Department of Human Services when the Robo-Debt thing kicked off, right? And for whatever reason, she found her way to be at the head of the Foreign Affairs and Trade Department. And then after the election, she was moved to a newly made AUKUS advisory position. And I'm just like, what? How? Why? It's like, oh yeah, the robo-debt thing went down heaps. Well, let's get her advice on something else, yeah. And just to remind everybody that we were already making submarines. We had to deal with the French. They redesigned their nuclear submarines to turn them into diesel electric submarines just for us. And what did we do? We turned around and said, never mind that. Actually, we changed our mind. We're going to go get nuclear ones from the US now. It's like, yeah, why can't we just share the submarines with the US or whatever, like we seem to do with firefighting aircrafts, which is extremely concerning when the fire seasons seem to overlap now. Because, yeah, you know what I think is really going to be helpful during a bushfire? A fucking submarine. And on the topic of submarines, why are we getting them? Why do we need these nuclear subs? What are we going to protect ourselves from with these? Or mainly probably be antagonistic with, oh, that's right, it's because China or something? Yes, that's right, that country that we get a lot of stuff made in. We want to fuck around with them. Not just a lot of stuff, but stuff that's fairly important, which, I find quite concerning. Like, those little NBN boxes that you need to have internet and phones working. Like, I just personally think if you're going to fuck around with a country, don't get shit like that made there. It's like, which one is it? Pick one. Are you dependent on them for their labor, or you want to try and start shit with them? Because you look dumb doing both. And like, forgive me if I don't think things like submarines and missiles are really what we should be focusing on. I'd just like to remind everybody that both major political parties in Australia receive donations from coal, gas, oil, and there are people getting burnt just by falling and landing on the road now in the Northern Hemisphere in their summer. So, yeah, shit's pretty fucked. We do not have our priorities straight at all.
Workers at Woodside and Chevron in Western Australia voted to go on strike yesterday over pay and conditions, and that resulted in a 40% surge in European gas prices because of concerns that a shortage will develop, since those two companies are responsible for about 11% of global supplies of LNG. And as a result, the share prices of Woodside and Santos jumped. Now, Woodside and Chevron are in urgent talks to resolve the dispute, but if they succeed, Woodside's share price will probably fall. WA gas production represents 12% of Australia's total exports, so this is serious.
It had everything. That had everything in it. It had the power of workers and striking, and they do deserve their increase in pay. It also shows how we have a problem with our dependence on fossil fuels, with just things like the supply and how it can then increase the cost by 40%. So I really want to point out to people the fact that the share price, when the consumer has to pay more because there's less gas to go around and it's going to go up 40%. The consumer is going to be hurt. The people buying it, investors, they do right. That's going to benefit them though. Share price goes up. But then when the workers get an increase in pay, when you actually have to go compensate the people doing the work, that will bring the share price back down again. That's not good for investors. Do you see why having a system that runs like this is not a good idea? Like, the incentive for the people at the top with investments in companies is to screw over the workers or screw over the consumers or both.